Hola, Mycelia Familia. This is Liz. Um, and I know that I'm uploading a video pretty late, but it's better late than never, right? Um, Today's topic is going to be about setting the example. I may use a lot of past experiences in this video and what setting the example looks like. Um, I'm gonna utilize my parents. So my mother was a very hardworking person. She worked a lot. And the reason why she worked a lot was because, well, she had to pay for some of the bills. And also, she wanted to do things that, you know, my dad didn't want to provide for. So that is another reason why she went to work. And my dad, he also is a hardworking person. But there were a lot of things I learned, um, you know, from both my parents about their bad habits and their great habits. And that's what set the example for me in regards to what to avoid, in my adult life, in regards to how I live on my own. I may have, you know, picked up some of their habits, things to carry on to my life cycle that came from theirs, and then previous life cycles that came from their own life cycle, and so forth. Kind of a generational transfer, also generational trauma. um, which I don't want to get into that topic. That's a whole completely other topic. Um, but I do remember, or I recall, both of my parents trying to set the example of, I don't want you to depend on nobody. And they made me a very independent person from such a young age. I was left home alone at the age of 4. Um, and there was a lot of things that, they would tell me, don't answer the door, don't answer their phone calls, um, so forth and what, you know. But I, at some point, didn't listen. I would leave the front door as a 4-year-old. Um, I luckily at the time, lived in a neighborhood where my parents had really great neighbors and took care of me. Um, Surprisingly, I wonder why a lot of things didn't, come to light, in regards to the law, but that's a whole different thing, and I'm glad it didn't. My parents were very, very lucky. Um, and then, of course, um, my siblings. My siblings also set the example for me, too. Um, Whatever they did, I also was picking up a lot of the things that they were doing, like playing video games, to listening to the music that they listened to the sports that they did, um, and so forth. And, it's the same thing with my parents. I picked up a lot of things that they were doing too. Um, I know my mom really likes to buy nice clothes and bags and jewelry. Um, and me, I'm not so fond of the bags and the jewelry. Right now I'm just maybe the earrings. But even then, like, my true self, I don't really like to go out with the bang with all that stuff. Um, but at some point, if it's on a special occasion, I will. I'll put on the makeup, I'll put on the earrings, I'll, you know, dress how I want to dress to make myself feel okay, feel good, feel alive in a sense. Um, but I also feel okay without all of that either. Um, and then my dad, well, his passion is being in the water, in the ocean, being a surfer. He talks a lot about the water, how the currents, what each current mean, talking about low and high tide, talking about a lot of species in the water. Um, at some point, we would also collect sea urchins and pulpos, camarones, fish, all kinds of things in the water. And we would provide that back to restaurants. Not here in the U.S., of course, because then, that's not applying to the law here. um, but in their home country, Mexico, is where we would do a whole lot of that, like in Ensenada and Rosarito, Tijuana, in that area. Um, so my dad really set the example of learning the environment, our natural environment, and what each thing means, in terms of like the weather conditions and what comes to us on the coast, and the different seasons of what comes around, and it was a lot that I learned, with my dad. Not even with just that, but my dad's pretty crafty with his hands. He's really good at designing homes and, a whole lot of other things. Designing surfboards is his passion. Creating different color schemes and, doodles on the boards, and I just kind of watched, and I was just like, whoa, like, this is really cool. And the same thing with my siblings. My oldest brother, um, really likes video games. I'm pretty sure to this day, still very much into it. Um, he was the one who got me into a lot of what exists in today's time, because he's the first. So he got a lot of the firsts. Um, and then my middle brother, is really tech savvy too, but also, um, a lot of endurance and physical, sportsmanship. Um, and works really hard for what he wants. And me, well, because I was the youngest, I was just the observer. I observed a lot of the people who set the example for me, um, and picked up a lot of habits from all of them. And then that spreads along into school, seeing what my peers are into, and, you know, trying my best to avoid trouble. My parents were pretty strict, so to an extent, they were strict. So I had to be home at a certain time. As time went on, as the older that I get, they were pretty lenient on me, but, I knew their expectations. Um, and then with school, with the things that I want to participate in, I had to have good grades. So because my teachers were the ones observing the passion that I have for certain things. They're like, well, you need to get good grades in order for you to keep participating in those things. They use that as a leverage. And that's what helped me stay on task, stay focused. They set that expectation and example. They use themselves as an example too in a lot of ways, and how they got to where they went in their time. Um, and as I was hanging out with a lot of people and peers, I picked up a lot of things, and I would bring that home with me, and my siblings would see, like, what the heck? Where did you get this from? And of course, I got it from school. And now I'm in the same boat. You know, it's that generational cycle. Because I have little ones. And I'm noticing, like, what my oldest is picking up from school. It's been a long time that I've noticed this. But I'm also noticing it in my middle child. They're also picking up things that I'm not so fond of. But it's up to me, and it's up to the people around them to kind of redirect those different behaviors. And that's by with us setting the example and helping them realize, oh, that's the better way that I should be doing this, or finding the right incentive to create that I don't want to say a positive reinforcement, but that's the best term that I can put it to, because a lot of, like how I said earlier with my teachers, they kind of used get great grades or good grades as my own incentive to be able to participate in the things that I really had a passion for. So it's kind of like the same thing for my children, all of my children, not just my firstborn and my middle child and my youngest. It's for all of my kids. I have to set the example of, if I don't go to work, I can possibly lose my home. Going to work is my own incentive of being able to provide us with a roof over our heads and the things that we need. And, it's also learning about, like, what's good and what's bad. And I'm still learning, what's good and what's bad. And I'm also learning things that make me happy and that I feel so passionate for, and, how to be a civilized person in this society. And just do great, do great for my kids. And just setting the example for them, showing them, what's funny, what's the passion, simply going on a hike and trying to walk a whole trail, which doesn't happen for my middle child. They get tired, so I have to find ways to keep their passion going, like playing with them, being silly, something to motivate them. And normally it's either their oldest sibling who can motivate them, because they like to play with their oldest sibling a lot. But also my oldest sibling is like, I'm tired. But then I have to also find that motivation, because I know there's something out there for her that motivates her to keep going, to keep, not only motivating themselves, but their other siblings, and so forth. But yeah, I do notice that You know, that seems to be the theme, setting the example. And that's where I'm going to end it. So if you can, set the example for someone that you know in your life that you care for. And don't forget, go outside if you can and enjoy your time. So I gotta go and take care of my babies now. See you guys.